So good morning, participants. Let us start with the small criteria, marks wise, and the length wise also, which is on first year academics. Let us browse through it, and then we understand that first year happens to be the foundation of all engineering programs. And once the students join, actually it is the first interface of the students when they come to the engineering campus. Uh, in India, we have that kind of structure now that 11, 12 classes are almost, students are not going to colleges, junior colleges. They are into classes, tuition classes, CET class, JEE mains class, and therefore their habit of going to the campus is broken actually. They don't report to the colleges and 11, 12 regularly, only go for labs, and therefore their college going habit is broken. So when they join engineering campus in first year, then that interface is to be made very, very strong. What I feel is that first year is very, very important kind of a step when the students enter after a gap of 2 years to the engineering college, and the mentoring or whatever it is, a counseling or that kind of customization, that all should acclimatization should happen in a very nice manner at first year. AICT has very rightly started an induction program. If you recall, from last couple of years, AICT has suggested the model of conducting induction program for a first year student. So we have to simply see to it that student gets accustomed to the campus of any college, any engineering college, and they spend some couple of weeks only in getting knowledge or know-how about different facilities in college, then probably meeting with the peers, meeting with the teachers, and then different practices of the college and so on and so forth. So induction program is really a kind of a ramping up or stepping up the students and again bringing back to them to the college campus. Okay, that induction program every college must be conducting now because AICT has mandated that. We also conduct at COEP, and we at COEP, as yesterday I was mentioning, there is a faculty mentor or faculty proctor scheme. It goes as per 20 student, one teacher, right? And at first year, what do we do? That we select the set of teachers who are actually teaching first year. Then there are certain common courses at first year, which come from mechanical engineering, let's say drawing, engineering drawing, or computer programming is from computer department. There are courses like basic electrical engineering, basic electronics engineering. So there are certain faculty which are drawn from the departments, core departments of the engineering college, and they are going to teach the first year courses, right? Mechanical, electrical, then probably electronics, computer. So what we do that for faculty mentor scheme or faculty proctor scheme, for every set of 20 newly joined students to the institute, we appoint these first year teaching teachers. Okay, teachers are engaged in teaching first year, so they are known to them therefore. And then with them, after first actually we break that system, and when the students are transferred to department, then we have departmental teachers after that, right? So those teachers really handhold the first year coming students. They have some teaching problem. They have to really go to hostels, then they have to live away from their cities and towns and parents and siblings and so on. Okay, all that job is very nicely done by the mentor teachers, and they simply get acclimatized to the campus culture. That must happen. Actually, that was the IIT practice, but then that simply gives some kind of good practice, so as to say. It actually was derived from IITs, and now it is getting probably very streamlined in normal engineering colleges also. So as I was saying, that first year is very, very important. It is building a culture of engineering education in the students, and therefore also I say that it is a probably a kind of I can say molding the student, grooming the student for engineering program. And when this interface of first year is successful, then probably student also get benefited from whatever we claim that they should now ramp up to the engineering program. We should rather have a very good set of teachers. The teachers were quite knowledgeable, quite qualified, very eligible, very parental in nature. We should appoint all such teachers at first year, actually. Okay, very qualified, very, very confident to deliver the content, very knowledgeable, also with the very parental attitude. All those we should appoint in first year. And then friends believe that all the criteria 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all that is actually jailed in first year. Okay, you will find the trace of all of the criteria in this first year academics, right? And then, it's a mini kind of, actually mini model of all criteria into one criteria, as you realize. So I have again derived it from the College of Yesterday's College, the SAR of the Yesterday's College, which I'm going to share with you. And then the same college, because I admire and appreciate that this college has got really a good kind of SAR, which is typed, which is shown, which is projected, which is demonstrated, quite colorful, and all the font, etc. Every size is very nicely presented kind of SAR. Therefore, okay, so that will go. So you'll find reflection of all traces of all criteria in this criteria also. For example, we start from first year student faculty ratio. Actually, you must have, you can trace it back to criteria number 5, which is actually faculty contributions, faculty informations. And we have 8.1 for 5 marks, which is first year SFR. Okay, first year SFR. We should also have that 1:20, 1:25 kind of SFR at first year, right? So we have all MSCs and we have all PhDs, we have all MA PhDs and so on. In COAP, the first year department comprises of 3 distinct departments. Chemistry department, which says applied sciences. Applied sciences is chemistry, biology, humanities, social sciences, management in COAP. You may have different first year department also. Then we have comparatively larger physics department, and we have also comparatively largest mathematics department. Okay, but many institutes in the country I have seen when I visit them, they have first year department, no issues. In COEP, we have applied sciences that comprises of chemistry, biology, humanities, social sciences, psychology, languages, and management together. Okay, that is the structure which we have followed. It is not hard and fast. Then we have physics department, which is larger. It comprises of 10, 12 different faculty. And then we have mathematics, is the largest among that first year departments. Okay, so we have seen to it that we have strengthened post autonomy, in particular the science and mathematics department. Okay, and we don't only ask those faculty to teach first year courses. We have some trace in second year also. We have mathematics virtually in all the semesters of UG and PG, virtually on all, because we believe strongly that maths is the language of engineers, and maths gives the analytical ability and lifelong learning ability to the student. Okay, when we say that students should be lifelong learners, the 12th program outcome, then mathematics and science foundation, if they are quite strongly laid down, the student certainly becomes a lifelong learner. That is our firm belief. Okay, universally also, maths and science foundations, if they are concretely laid down, then world believes, good universities believe that students' foundation in science and maths is good. They certainly become good analysts throughout their life, and they become lifelong learner. Okay, the technology courses which are today present, they'll be obsolete tomorrow. So, but to adopt ourselves to the changes in technology, what is more required is knowledge of physics, maths, and chemistry and all. Okay, that is our firm belief. Also, we have many psychology, humanities, social sciences, languages course in the first year. Okay, we have that. And because we have to accustom the student to the culture of campus, so we have all those courses also, professional ethics, communication, English language first, and so on and so forth. We have personal psychology in the first year. So all those courses are also there as a part of the first year. So we have clubbed all those things, all those faculty. And how do you calculate first year student to faculty ratio? Again, let's say 1:20. Good ratio is 1:20. In autonomous campuses, 1:15. And we have all that. Okay. So approved intake we take. They approved, shown it over here. 2018-19 was a CAY for them, and 720 was the approved intake. If the intake crosses this, there is supernumerary quota. Let's say it's a quota like NRI, PIO, Gulf, and whatnot, EWS, and so on. Okay, if it is supernumerary quota adds to this, it exceeds 720. NBA advises that you go for upper numbers. You calculate SFR on upper numbers. You also add to this supernumerary quota. Okay, but the admissions, we have that tragic picture throughout the country now that the admissions to engineering programs are reducing. If they are reducing, then you limit. The upper cap is the intake capacity, approved intake strength. Okay, so the college has nicely done it. Approved intake strength is 720. They have not considered supernumerary quota because probably the programs might not be getting good admissions. So the limit to calculate SFR at first year happens to be intake capacity. If it exceeds, then go for exceeded supernumerary quota also. Say 50 students get added because of supernumerary quota, tuition fee waiver scheme, and so on and so forth, then you have to add to it. If it is not, you have to limit that to intake strength. Okay, the number of faculty members, fractional load they inputted over here. NBA kept on changing the concept of fractional load. There is no fractional load now. I have to simply calculate 1:20, 720 by 20. How many I get? It is 36. Then 36 should be the number for getting it. Okay, that's the way. And how do I spare the faculty number from core departments? Let's say I got basic electronics engineering from my department, who some teachers teach that course. Okay, then for every 16 hours of that teaching, I have to spare, I have to show that faculty for first year. Okay, nothing of fractional load kind of concept. For every 16 hours of basic electronics engineering at first year, I have to spare, simply throw away that faculty and show him or her at first year. That's the way. Okay, fractional load concept is gone now, and this is older SAR, probably, therefore that is the way. So for first year core faculty, chemistry, physics, mathematics, humanities, etc., we require 720 by 20, so 36 faculty. And we have also spare from our department, mechanical department.
Good morning.
Yes.
Good morning, sir, and sorry for disturbing. I request you to briefly again explain fractional load, please.
Fractional load concept is gone now, so I should not explain that to you. I just tell you like this, that let's say 1:20 is a common SFR consented, so it is applicable for first year also. Okay, so approved intake strength, I should consider approved intake strength only. If the admissions are less in number, I should stick to upper cap of approved intake strength. If admission exceeds, actually admitted student exceed the approved intake strength, then I should take that increased number. If there is some supernumerary quota, like we have NIR, NRI, PIO, Gulf countries admission, J&K, Northeast, etc., etc., all that quota gets added, and the intake is going to be above 720. And you actually get those many students, then NBA suggests, advises that you have to consider higher number. Okay, and considering 1:20 as a SFR at first year, I'll require, for this example, I'll require 36 faculty. Now people ask question about that. There are courses like computer programming from computer department, drawing, engineering graphics from mechanical department, electronics engineering basics from electronics department. How to deal with those numbers? Okay, I can therefore say the suggestion is like this, advice is like this, or rule is like this. Let's say that for every 16 hours of load at first year, every 16 hours of load, theory and lab taken together, we can spare one faculty from core engineering department to first year. That can happen, and that will add to the strength, add to the strength of first year. Okay, I have to see to it that 16 hours of load of basic electronics engineering, I have to show, I can delegate that one faculty to first year department, and first year department SFR therefore improves. So you may have, let's say I require 36 faculty over here, let's say, because 1:20 ratio is to be somehow complied. Then out of that 1:20, 36 faculty, some 3-4 can come from computer department, mechanical department, and then electronics department, electrical department, so on, because they also engage the load for first year. That's the way. Okay, so I should not have chemistry, physics, maths, humanities only comprising of, let's say, 36 number. Out of that 36, some 4 or 5 can come from core engineering department. Don't consider nowadays fractional load. This concept is now gone. Fractional load means the faculty from the core engineering department can conduct some UGPG classes of that department, and also is sparing his time for first year classes.
It is the earlier shared faculty concept you are saying? Earlier the shared faculty concept was there. Same as I think fractional load.
That was fractional load. That is now gone. Okay. So we just spare for every 16 hours of load, the core engineering department can spare or delegate one faculty to first year. That adds to first year strength. Okay, and that faculty may be engaging any load with your department, but we can simply subtract that faculty from the core department and show him or her to first year department. Then I have to subtract that, believe that will be subtracted. So if I have some 20 faculty in my department and 2 needs to be spared for first year, I'll subtract that from my department, core engineering department. Okay, I will not show him double over there, though he may be virtually sharing any kind of load. But for every 16 hours of load, assistant professor level, if I'm sparing for first year, those much number I have to subtract from my department and show it on first year department. That's the way. So first year strength improves. So while calculating 1:20 SFR for first year HOD, let's say, can also consider departmental faculty like this. Okay, that's the meaning of it. I do not require 36 faculty for this example, only from chemistry, physics, humanities, biology, and maths. That's the way. So they have first year SFR. I have sufficiently made it clear as you. So this 19.46 is SFR year now, and maximum marks are 5. So they got 5, all of that 5. So it was 37 retained probably, and therefore they got 19.46. 20 was the ratio which was envisaged by the NBA. They got all 5 marks for that, right? Similar for qualification of faculty, right? And we require more PhDs. So this, remember, there is 5x plus 3y kind of factor. RF is required regular faculty. So by the way, it is all regular faculty. Regular means the faculty who are going to work for the full office hours. Visiting faculty, course-wise faculty is not allowed. Regular faculty is allowed. And probably the person who apprised you on faculty contributions and information, he must have told you that which faculty to consider. Faculty who joined the college before 31st of August every year and who's up to 30th of April of the next year, he or she can be considered as a full-time regular faculty for that academic year. All of you know that probably. It's a very sensitive and delicate calculation, and you have to do it very, very honestly. One of the 2 evaluators will catch you for this, or this is a chairman's purview, by the way, but chairman will also catch you if you do some jugglery or some manipulation. With this, he will certainly catch you. So don't do that manipulation. Naturally, in qualification, if it is X is number of PhDs, Y is number of MSCs, postgraduate, right? MSc is the minimum qualification for them. So if you have more PhDs, it is 5 multiplying factor. More, let's say PGs, you will get 3 multiplying factors. Naturally, qualification more, so you'll be getting good kind of stuff over there. Required faculty was 36 here because 1:20 ratio, 720 intake, RF was 36, all formula based calculations over here, right? They had more PG faculty, less PhD faculty. They lost some marks, 3.47 out of 5. So they lost the marks. More PhD means more marks. And again, cap is 5, limit is 5. So that they are shown over there, right? That's the way. First year academic performance is very, very important. And we find that many a time, because the students are unable to cope up with the engineering programs, they have dips. The academic performance of first year generally drops. Then they catch, then they slowly pick up from second year, third year. Third year, somehow the performance improves. Okay, we have to be very honest and sincere in reporting to the committee in the SAR the academic performance. It is generally less. Okay, and we should not be panic about it. It's generally less. First year academic performance marks are 10, and you understand that academic performance is all about mean of CGPA. CGPA is cumulative grade point average for both the semesters of first year, or mean percentage of all successful students. Okay, the universities or colleges which are still in percentage domain, they can find out mean percentage of all successful students. Successful, in a sense, there is a debate over here because NBA has remained silent on that. Successful is those who could clear, let's say first year there is a backlog, first semester there is a backlog, and there is a scheme of re-examination and student clears that. So there is no live backlog as such, right? So successful means the first semester backlogs are covered somehow. The student has he has cleared that. Then probably those can be considered. Okay, and mean of CGPA of all successful students or mean of percentage of all successful students, that we have to simply report. Probably they have got the 612 out of 720. They were successful students. Why? So they have considered mean of CGPA of all of them. It was 7.52 in year 17-18. Okay, 6.79 here. 643 students could successfully complete, and that is the way. Okay. The students who appeared in the examination was more, and the students who appeared out of that Y was successful number, there is Y by Z factor. So more number of successful students vis-a-vis the more number of appeared students. That's the way. If appeared students and successful students are same, then Y by Z becomes 1, and you directly become that X to be the factor over there. We have to average it out for 3 years. The 2017-18 was a first year completed batch. Before that, all that data we have to collect, right? And then this college has done very nice thing. Actually, it is expected sometimes, some evaluators they probably insist on this, that we have to also give branch wise numbers for all the 3 years. This college did that. Computer science, CSE was a branch, and they reported all those numbers, 17, 18, 16, 17, 15, 16. Actually, these numbers are very easy to extract from the examination cell of the college. Okay, possible. So they reported also branch wise, right? And we can understand the academic performance of CSE is better. We can relate this to quality of the student intake and so on. So they had all those programs, CSE, ISE, and so on and so forth, and they reported data of all students appeared, all students successful, mean of the SGPA, etc. They did everything for all the branches. They did that, okay, and simply kept on reporting, and that ultimately amalgamated to this kind of first year academic performance. It is a numerical exercise, formula based, so no manipulation, and all the records will be checked by evaluators, by the chairman probably. 8, 9, 10 is the purview of chairman. So chairman will sit with the ledgers and the registers, with the examination coordinator or control of examination. You have to show all very transparently all the data related to branches, successful student, appeared student, scores, how did you calculate the average, etc., etc. Everything is very transparently seen. And see, this is quite tangible. Okay, results are very, very apparent. No, very transparently you have to show them. No manipulation scope is there. No perception. No subjectivity. Everything is very, very objective, and no institute can really, there is a scope of manipulation over here. Nothing of that sort. And this the institute did it quite transparently. The tough task is now attainment of CO of first year courses. Okay, tough in the sense there is a bit confusion here. Okay, now program outcomes, all of you know. Attainment of, I request all the speakers to mute. I request speakers to participants to mute their mics. Okay, there is some crosstalk I'm experiencing. So CO, PO attainment of first year courses, we have to do that. All of you know now that CO attainment, okay, we have to do at end of every course, means at the end of every semester. There are certain, let's say 5 theory courses and 2 lab courses in one semester. You have to find out CO attainment at the end of that course, right? When do you find out PO attainment? PO attainment find out at the end of the program. How the program ends? Program ends after every 4 years, is it not? But for institute, for college, we have every year batch passing out. So to find PO attainment for that batch every year, is it not? So I got 2018-19, 2019-20 passing out batch. So PO attainment we calculate at the end of every year for that batch, and CO attainment for that course at the end of every semester. We do that, right? Now there is little confusion here, which I want to clarify today, that how PO attainment is contributed by CO attainment of first year courses. That's the way. Okay. Otherwise, all the teachers of first year should also be sufficiently educated, sufficiently trained to calculate the CO attainment of first year courses. They should be doing it. Okay. And the college has priced. There are 10 marks for it. For every theory course, probably Dr. Bandal, who conducted a session on COP attainment, he must have apprised you, sufficiently educated you on this COP attainment component, and there are direct assessment tools and indirect assessment tools for COP attainment, and it is institute specific that how much weightage one should give for direct attainment, how much weightage for indirect attainment. Okay, direct is something which is tangibly visible. The marks of the student, the placement of students, there numbers, figures, and facts are available. Okay, that is direct assessment. In the direct assessment, they have CIC, which is continuous evaluation component, and the end set component, semester end component. Okay, that they have done over here. Now, in our direct attainment also, they have got. I'm still getting some crosstalk from the audiences. May I request audience to mute their mics? I request audience to mute their mic. We'll have a separate question and answer session. Okay. I request all the participants to mute their mics. We have sufficient time now. This is a small module. So at the end of the module, we'll take all the questions. Okay. So this particular college, they have gone for components of COPO attainment. One is direct, other is indirect. No issues, right? But the direct attainment total weightage they have given to is 90%. Indirect attainment 10%. Good. That is their purview anyway. That is their purview. Okay. Generally 80-20 rule applies. Indirect attainment tools 20%, direct attainment tools 80%. They have gone for 90-10. No issues, right? It is left to the institute as a whole, and program assessment committee's purview it is that how much should be the direct attainment tool percentage weightage and indirect attainment tool weightage. That is dependent on the college. No problem. Okay. And what they did is that for internal evaluation, 3 internal assignment oblique tutorial oblique class test, they have given weightage of 40%. And for end same examination, semester interview would come from university. They have given 60% mark. Again, this weightages is a concern or purview of the institute or the program or the department, whatever. We can even honor diversity of these percentages department wise. Even it should not be uniform. Why should uniform across college even? We can very well have these weightages different. But generally in one institute, we have these weightages commonly frozen. Okay. So for direct attainment, internal assessment, they have gone for 40% weightage. End semester examination, university they have gone for 60% weightage. And 90% is total weightage for these two taken together. And this is all numerical. All is obvious. No manipulation, no hiding, no scope for any perception. Whereas indirect attainment tool, which is generally course end survey, student feedback, etc., to that they have given only 10% weightage. Okay, it is a perception. A teacher teaches good or not, whether he has competency in the knowledge in the domain, he is punctual, he attends classes very nicely, comes in time, leaves in time, learning material is good or not. We can design a course exit survey, end survey, and that can be given to students. Okay. Student feedback, probably about the teacher and teaching learning process. That can also be very nicely done, no issues, right? But then in that case, because it is perception based, the weightage is less. And for the direct attainment, weightage they have given more, generally 80-20, and the split up for NSEM and this is also dependent on the university or the college or the institute. There is no debate about these weightages. They should be known to the teachers of every institute. Somebody from the top should dictate that everything is allowed, no issue at all. Similarly, for laboratory also they did the same thing. Direct attainment, continuous evaluation, semester end evaluation, 40, 60, 90, indirect attainment, course and survey, 10%. All that weightages they devised very nicely. And now see, they have done all that, all that for all the branches. The reporting I appreciate because I picked up this for sharing with you, this CSR sharing with you, because I admire, I appreciate the way they have presented the data, right? So they have, let's say, one course was taken, subject 17 M80 11, maths it would probably 2017 revision of curriculum, mathematics course, and 1 means probably first year, first semester. That could be the problem, like coding from Vishweshwaraya Technological University of Karnataka, let's say. The CO target level, these are our marks probably, CAC and all that. Okay, CO1 to CO9, and see they uniformly don't have same CO number. For example, physics course had 5 COs, maths had 9 COs. BTU is a university which dictates COs to the teachers. It is printed in the curriculum booklet. Okay, and this is something which I dislike. I always say that even though university is affiliating for you, boss for you, but it is a CO is a teacher's purview. I have been advocating that from my session 1 also. That CO teachers' freedom, teachers should be free, liberalized, or empowered to design his or her own COs, right? That must be the case. And the simple thing they have done is that they decided some mark target, CSC student for CO 160 for all. It was uniformly decided. Again, how to decide target of attainment, that Dr. Bandal might have told you. So this is not my purview now because we don't have time that much. So I assume that you understood how to decide the target. And there is some teacher dependent thing over here. if the question paper is very tough, the batch is bit low, academically low student it comprises of, I can reduce the target. I can be less ambitious. But the batch is good, paper was easy, course is easy, depth of the course is not that much. Then depending on the type of course, level of the examination, level of continuous assessment, we can all decide this target. Okay. NBA has left that scope to the teacher, department, head of the department, program assessment committee. Target is a fishy kind of, it's a fuzzy logic. Okay, in fuzzy logic, what happens? The targets are not hard fixed. These thresholds are not hard thresholds. They are soft thresholds. It is completely left to the ethical and moral values in the teacher. How much to, and we can play with this. I can certainly prove that the target is low. I can certainly prove that CO1 attainment is done for my course. So it is completely your ethical, moral inner voice which decides whether to declare CO1 to CO9 to be attained or not. And attainment is a digital attainment. Attained, not attained. If this crosses, average it is crosses 60, then probably CO1 is attained. Is it not? That's a simple way. But then that is your inner voice, your conscience, which decides that this should be, target should be what. Okay, and then they did that overall CO attainment, all are attained, all COs seem to be attained, no? Because all was uniformly, target was 60, and see, all this seems to be above that. Similarly, physics also they kept it 60. CIV was, I don't know which this courses, they made it 55. The number of COs are non-uniform, 9, 5, again 6, and then 55. They have seen to it that all COs seem to be attained. So attainment levels average for taken for all programs together. Okay. See, at first year take all programs together because there are common courses. Mathematics is common course, physics is common course, the CIV is a common course. All are common courses, right? So they are taken nicely, very nicely, the average of all of them, and then proven overall CO attainment. A bigger task to be done by first year NBA coordinator, first year program coordinator, right? And they have to do it combinedly, jointly, for all branches of first year, and the common target they have decided naturally. I should not decide it branch wise. That's advice from my end. Common target, common course, all the branches taken together, and then you got the attainment level over here. Okay, so they did for physics, C4, then some EME, maybe which course I don't know. All the abbreviations, electrical engineering probably, and then they have 60 targets, 55 targets, somewhere 8 COs, somewhere 5 COs, only 2 COs per workshop. It's a lab probably. 4 COs for laboratory of physics. It's PHYL. So I'm just estimating. It could be 4 COs for the chemistry. Then there are again 6 COs. And every time they have seen to it that the COs are attained. Targets are fixed like this. Okay. Remember again, harder the target, more ambitious value of target, then less is the possibility of CO attainment. But I said it is again left to the conscience, expertise, ethical value of a teacher to decide this target. If teacher declares that all the COs are attained, then nobody can question. But then it is not for our own, we can say, corrupt kind of a mindset. It should be challenging us as a teacher, and we should ethically, honestly say that some of my COs are not attained this year, and some of the COs are attained this year. I have to work on that CO which is not getting attained. Is it not? I have to work on that really. And when the some COs are not attained, I'll work on it. I'll struggle for that. And next year I may prove that the CO4, which is having, let's say, 55 threshold, it seems to be not attained, let's say. I will be proving next year. I'll be proving next year certainly that this CO, I struggled a lot. I trained myself. I attended several FDPs available in the vicinity. I attended some online courses. I polished my knowledge of delivery. I am now polishing my communication skill. I reach the students. I am going to deliver something to academically weaker students. And then my results improve. Okay. If you are all honest, ethical teachers, then this is not a manipulation. But COPO attainment is a subjective phenomenon. Okay. Believe me, it is subjective, perceptive phenomenon. And then you have to make the experts believe that you have done this honestly. Friends, if the number of honest and sincere teachers on the campus are more, then OB is successful, right? Because COPO attainment is solely and wholly exercise to be done by the teachers. Is it not? More sincere and honest teachers, academically sincere, academically honest. I don't say very, very intellect teachers. Okay. See, intellect is a different class. I don't want IIT Bombay professors category, caliber in my teachers. But all my teachers must be honest. Their inner voice must be very strong. They should not be manipulative. That's my appeal to all of you. Right? As teachers, as the society looks at to be ethical entities. If you are ethical, then the COPO attainment business happens to be also ethical exercise. They did that batch wise, year wise, and there's a lot of pages now that they have invested in this CO attainment for that sake, right? So all the COs they went on doing, I'm now browsing, simply just scrolling it down. All the CO attainment they have done year wise, course wise for all the branches taken together. Okay, they have set some target. It seems it is done on the marks basis only. It's a university affiliated college, so did it on marks, right? That they did. As fast I'm scrolling it down, it may not be appearing on your screen if your bandwidth is not supporting. But then this is the way they have done. Invested lot of pages in CO attainment, right? Coming to PO attainment from first year courses, there is some debatable issue over here. Okay, how to contribute to PO? PO is whose purview? Program outcome. Which is a program? CSE is a program, ECE is a program, mechanical is a program, metallurgy is a program, civil is program. So what should happen actually is that program outcome attainment. The CO attainment of first year courses, the first year MBA coordinator should simply forward. You should simply pass it on to the program coordinator of the corresponding respective program. ECE program, let's say I have. Then there should be communication between first year coordinator and program coordinator of the program, ECE, CSE, civil, mechanical, etc. He should simply give the chart of CO attainment to that program coordinator of the program. Okay, branch wise program coordinators. And the program coordinator of first year should also give him a chart. Which chart? How COPO mapping is done. The course articulation matrix, no, which probably Dr. Bandal might have told you. So how COs of first year are contributing or correlated with the POs of that program uniformly. This should be given to the program coordinator at the department level. That should happen. How densely? Again on the scale of dash 1 to 3. 3 means densest correlation, 2 means moderate correlation, 1 means thin correlation, dash means no correlation. Just pass on that to that program coordinator. Okay, that is my opinion. Actually, there can be debate on this. Okay, now what they did is like this, that this institute, what they did do, they have all the courses listed over there. Academic year 17-18, PO attainment. Mathematics, physics, chemistry, CIV, PCD, all those courses are listed over there. 17-18 year. Okay, and they have also given the PO mapping levels over here. Right, so each CO, it is going to contribute to particular PO, how much that they have written over there. Some POs are not addressed, some POs are addressed, right? And average from these courses in 2007-1, how much is the contribution for all these courses taken together to PO1? All courses of first year taken together to PO1, how much? So it seems that this institute did not forward or share their COPO mapping matrix to program coordinators of the program. They did that on their own. What they did is like this, that all courses of first year taken together, they have found out that they contribute to PO1 1.93 on the scale of 3. Quite dense correlation, approaching 2. Is it not? Whereas other POs, PO1 to PO12, see, look at the 0.57. This is PO3. It is not much attained. It is probably design analysis of problem. And first year are all fundamental courses, so not much done over there. Similarly, PO5 120, 1.22, modern tool usage. At first year, the laboratories are quite fundamental, principles of everything. So not much tools are getting used over there. Okay. 0.97 PO7, not much contribution. 0.94 lifelong learning. Okay, actually at COEP we believe that mathematics all are going to contribute to PO12 lifelong learning, but they have shown all these contributions over here. Okay, they have not passed on or shared exercise of COPO mapping to the program coordinators branch wise. They did it on their own. Okay, with the wisdom of all first year teachers, all these first year courses in academic year 2017-18, they map to all the POs. PSO, program specific outcomes, don't exist at first year. They're program specific, right? So only from PO to PO1 to PO12, they're all that mapping over here. And then they have gone for 16-17, then they have gone for 15-16. All those contributions they have gone for. Again, the conclusion I can get that some POs, let's say PO1 over the years. In first year it was 1.62, 15-16, 1.66 in 16-17, and 1.93 in 17-18. Okay, so contribution of first year courses is shown to be rising here. How it is rising? How? That if the syllabus has not changed, curriculum has not been revised, still they have shown that because of all these courses, the PO1 contribution was 1.93. Before that year, it was 1.66. In the prior year, it was 1.62. So PO1 contribution because of same set of courses is shown to be rising, increasing. How it must be? If the curriculum revision has not been undertaken by the university, but the college must have gone on delivering content beyond curriculum. And therefore, they have shown, if, for example, PO1 contribution from all the COs of all those courses has been more. Is it not that they have shown over there? Improving. Why it is improving? Because they wanted to prove that they did some extra efforts, they reached extra mile, and therefore the attainment of PO has been increasing year after year. Is it not that they have proved over here? So they have not left it to the individual program, but they are independently done that. Another solution could be that you can simply pass on CO attainment of the first year courses and COPO mapping to the program coordinator, as I said. That can be delegated to him or her, and then he will calculate it for first year, second year, third year, fourth year, taken together for a particular batch. Here it seems that they independently calculated PO attainment of first. Both systems are allowed, no problem, right? And they have the proved also that how PO attainment is improving year after year on the scale of 3. That they have proved also, okay, year after year. So it was 0.85 PO12, then it was 0.88 PO12 in the next year, it was 0.94 in latest year. So they have shown also that how the PO attainment is improving. Okay, so they independently did it for their own courses and finished the issue. Right? That they did.
Sir, one query, please. Can I ask?
Yes, please.
If there is no syllabus revision, but because of more number of years being taught, of course, to different batches, by the faculty, the teaching learning process might have been improved, and that also could get reflected in better CO and consequently better PO attainment.
PO attainment, yes, possible. Yes, certainly possible. Yes. Okay, this is quite true that they might not have proved it rather on the paper, but as I said, COPO attainment is a perceptive kind of issue, right? And therefore they might have proved also that every PO there is an attainment improvement. Okay, all the levels they are incrementally increased. Anyway, that is good, no problem. They also take an extra effort. The command of this teaching the course increases after year, the results improve. All that is reflected over here. Only two process examples. One is to delegate PO attainment to the program, or you do it yourself at first year. So they have chosen to do PO attainment independently at first year, and probably therefore when PO attainment of program is getting calculated, they are taken into account only second year, third year, final year. This is the only debatable issue. Both are allowed, no problem. And now they have done that. Actions taken based on results of relevant PO attainment, 5 marks. Let's say 17, 18. That PO1 attainment was 1.85 target level, attainment level 1.9. It is attained. Okay, this is attained now. So 1.85 was the target level, 1.93 is the attainment level, it is attained. Okay. So that's
Sir,
the
I have
PO1 engineering knowledge. And then they said what observations they have done. Implementation of
Audible,
this
sir?
course, some tutorials, some
Hello?
assignments that is going to has contributed for improvement in the attainment that they approved. Okay. Some comment they did why they have attained that. Target level was 1.85, attainment is 1.93, and they have proved, shown that why is the reason that what action they took for the attainment over there, because the action taken report, is it not? And that said, the implementation of bridge course, some tutorials, some assignments contributed for improvement in the attainment. Okay, in the previous
Sir,
year
am
from
I audible?
2016-17, this could not have been that much. Therefore, they justified it. Right? Action one was to conduct the bridge course, revising the basics during the first week. So bridge course happens to be the ramping up course, and they did that probably. Okay, to conduct tutorial classes, to conduct class tests. So they did some intentional actions, focused actions to result into improvement in the attainment of PO1, and the actions they have reported. Okay, problem analysis for the second PO, they got incremental attainment increase 1.10, 1.11. So again, they said implementation of bridge course, tutorial assignment, everything they have said the same. Then 1.00 was the target, but they did not attain PO3, 0.57. This PO is addressed by programming in C. Attainment is quite reasonable, they say. As I was saying, that even though it is 0.57, the teacher can certify that PO is attained. Certification of PO attainment lies with the teacher. See, they are making the comment over here. PO is, even though it is numerically not attained, one was the target, 0.57 is the attainment level. Okay, still they are saying attainment is reasonable. It is not attained, but they are saying attainment is reasonable. Okay, and it was design development of solutions. Actions taken are like this: to conduct additional classes or special lectures to make the student understand the concept of design and to provide additional problems to bright students. Now, these practices, these actions can be individual, institute specific. And you have to be, as I said, you have to be sincere and you have to be honest to the total system as such, right? The actions depends on you, and there is tremendous scope for improvement, tremendous scope for innovations. How to improve the PO attainment? Is it not? I said, see, it's the best example here, rather, which I liked, that I was a chairman, I think, for this college. I don't remember. I was accidentally a chairman, and then 1 here and 0.57 here. And then the teacher justified that even though levels are less, I will still say it's a reasonable attainment. Fuzzy logic, as I said. It's not a clear-cut digital logic, but the fuzzy logic that they said. Okay, 1.20, 1.22, and then they again say some kind of actions they have might have told. Then they to provide more practice sessions so that students will get sufficient time to master the tools. Because programming in C, so they have to sit on the computer and they open do some C programming assignments. All that is using the tools. Okay, PO5 was using the tool, and they got again incremental satisfaction that this PO is attained. No problem. Again, for engineer and society, addressed by chemistry theory, electrical engineering, environment science was the course probably, and they say attainment is quite reasonable. Action they took is conduct motivational talk, guest lectures to make students understand importance of professional engineering, sensitivity to environment, and so on. As I said, you just putting the course on environmental awareness or environmental science. Do we believe that my students have become environmentally sensitive? Probably no. That's not the true, no? That just by putting the course, there is no issue rather. I had a course, I remember I was Dean Academics in my last tenure. Being COAP, we have every 3 years, the senior professors change their portfolio. I was Dean Academics previously, in my earlier, immediate past portfolio was Dean Academics. And we had a professional ethics course in the first year. Professional ethics, because there is one PO on professional ethics, and we had the course. AICT also mandates now to have a course on professional ethics. Quote unquote, we had a visiting faculty for that professional ethics course, and there was a classroom teaching, there was a regular examination. It was a credit course, one credit course we had. So 13, 14, 15 lectures that faculty conducted, quite a senior faculty, retired from industry, and now passionately teaching a course on professional ethics. Okay, response of students in attending such course is poor, because can ethics be taught in a classroom? Probably no. It cannot be taught in the classroom, is it not? But then ethics really is something which is to be learned by practicing. They are all culture, part of the culture, part of the sanskar, as we say. Okay, can they be? But there is a course, so we to taught that course formally. Still, it is. And then that senior person, retired person, I was dean academics that time, and he gave them the examination. End sem, or probably it was a mid-sem examination. That time, mid-sem examination. And then he said in a particular class, a first year class, and he said that he found a bunch of students in COEP. It doesn't happen. A bunch of students chatting with each other, and there was a mobiles which were exchanged. It was theoretical kind of question, and students don't study that professional ethics course seriously. They do it at the last hour. They do the studies and all, and they were writing the paper. Okay, that senior person was invigilating in the class. It was a 3 hours paper, and he came 2 hours paper. I was dean academics, and after the examination was over, he came to me with the all that bunch of papers, 30 papers in his class, let's say. And he said, Professor Sutarne, I found that out of 30 students in my class, which I was invigilating, 15-20 students must have copied. He was very, very annoyed, because he said students were chatting with each other. Some students were found to exchange the mobiles, so they did not study it on. See, he said, I taught the course on professional ethics, and in the ethics course, they were found to be chatting and copying and something. Okay, he was very, very irritated. And then he said, no, I'm very disheartened today. And then this is not the way students should take it. And then he was very serious about it, right? So in short, ethics cannot be taught in class. Okay, but then all this, I cannot make a engineer to be society sensitive, social issue sensitive. That I cannot do just by taking the course, right? And therefore, higher order POs, there is a heavy scope for perception over here. Heavy scope for perception. I just cannot make them show them some kind of my campus is tobacco free, no smoking, then there is no loitering. I have to drop. It is very, very clean and green, lush green campus. I am not allowed to walk on my grass kind of stuff, and so on and so forth. Very clean campus, toilets are clean. Then probably by practicing, I can always. Yes.
Can I sorry to disturb you? I'm Dr. Chikal Thankar. Can you guide me one thing for this PO6 on your PPT? Yes, sir. The engineers and the society, when you were talking, the societal, health, safety, legal, and cultural issue, students are participating in another activity, just like as a Baha, where health and safety issues are coming, legal issues are coming. Robocon also the legal issues are coming. So can we add that particular points in this?
Certainly. Actually, I was about to suggest that we started an exercise of activity grade sheet from last year. We have academic grade sheet which we provide to the student, being an autonomous college. But every semester, we have started now giving activity grade sheet to every student. Difficult to monitor. But students are encouraged to participate in the activity which you just mentioned. Baha Motors, Robocon, and so on and so forth. Any activity which you organize.
But the thing is happening, sir, when we are the thing is happening when we are calculating this PO6, we are calculating in our matrix with a certain subject. Okay. But that particular activity, that activity we have to,
Yes.
That activity actually when we are making the matrix, we have to put that activity in that matrix also, is it not?
Certainly. In addition to the course, formal course, you have to put that activity and then map it with the PO6, PO7. Do that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Only quantify.
You are again talking something just now regarding the skill set or. Yes. Thanks.
Actually, I was about to advise that PO6 to PO12. Every time we should not have formal courses in the curriculum, but we do a lot of things on the campus, we should see to it that all those activities, extra and co-curricular activities in the curriculum, which students do outside the classroom, outside the lab, that you should map with PO6 to PO12. Otherwise, it is not possible simply in the curriculum to have courses, formal courses for all these PO6 to PO7. Rather, my appeal to all the teachers, all the administrators here, program coordinators here, they should certainly map, yes, that kind of activities with this PO6 to PO12. It will certainly improve your PO6 to PO7, PO12 attainment also, right? So environment sustainability, social kind of issues, and then further, let's say, ethics.
Sir, good morning, sir.
Huh,
I am Darsha Bendre from Pimpri Chinchwad College of Engineering.
yes.
I have doubt with respect to the topic which is discussed like activity mapping to the PO.
Huh.
So will it be considered under direct attainment or indirect attainment?
Yes, direct attainment.
Direct attainment.
Because it is quantifiable completely. Indirect is all surveys and feedbacks, which is perception.
So in addition to course and survey, we can also consider these activities to in the
Yes,
direct attainment.
yes. Only the usual
Okay.
proper record of it. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I said no, that COEP as an autonomous college, we started activity grade sheet, which is
Right.
completely a quantified exercise.
Okay.
That's the way. Okay. So that we could implement, so we could prove it on paper that we started. Right?
Okay. Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you.
So ethics we have course, but they have written here to national anthem.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Sir, will you please share the activity sheet in the way that we wanted to map this with the POs?
Okay.
Because this becomes actually query. Because in what way these particular activities actually which are important to be mapped with the PO6 to PO12.
Okay.
So in
Okay,
what way we can actually compute that? Yes, sir.
What I'll do is I'll share my presentation with Professor Tripathi, and similarly I'll share this activity grade sheet PO mapping also. Huh? So because
Yeah, yes, sir, please.
I have to hunt it. It is on my machine now, but I have to hunt it now. As of now, I can
One thing,
I'll certainly share.
sir, please on activity
Thank
grade
you.
sheet, can you just list the points where you have to put certain grades and how to quantify it?
Yes. We have enlisted a lot of activities, For example, a student is going to publish a paper in a conference. Let's say it is academic activity, no, but it is beyond curriculum. Is it not? Student participates in, let's say, debate competition. He participates in Robocon, all technical activities. Okay, co-technical activities. Extracurricular activities like he participates in some kind of, let's say, Purushottam Firodia, in a cultural activity. He takes part in some organizational activity. We have enlisted such 17, 19, 18, 19 activities on campus, and we have 40, 45 student clubs on campus. Okay, and there is a club faculty in charge, and we ask that club faculty in charge to grade the student based on his or her involvement in the activity. We have a vehicle club here, the Supra vehicle club, Baha vehicle club, and so on. And that vehicle in charge, that club in charge, is going to evaluate that set of students. We have got, let's say, social gathering, we have got regatta, we have got Mind Spark national level technical event. All those volunteers, students who are going to volunteer to participate in the activity, there is a faculty in charge. It is job of that faculty in charge to grade that student's participation, his involvement, his depth involvement in that activity. It is a tedious exercise, but we are doing it from last year. Okay, I'll share certainly that with you, and you'll get some kind of an idea. It is not that you should blindly follow it, but there is a recommendation that you should do that. Okay, that can be done. Here they have said that on campus they every year, every day play national anthem. That is to create, apply ethical principles, etc. Okay, that can be the way. They display motivational quotes by scientists, national leaders. That is their wisdom that they did that. Okay, PO9 is individual and teamwork. One advice to all the teachers, colleagues here, that teamwork. We have always a activity like micro project at second year, mini project in third year, major project in final year. Project is certainly not a alone activity. It is certainly a team activity. Okay, and teachers have certainly got that kind of an insight to classify and to grade the students based on their contribution in the team, right? So team, individual and teamwork, that you can certainly gauge, and you can attribute all the projects in the curriculum to this PO9. That can be done at program level. And activities which you are going to say, let's say you have a gathering and technical activity, sports activity, any activity over there, you can attribute that to the teamwork, possible. I'll share now with you and then with Professor Tripathi, and you can get it like that. Communication. You have got courses on English communication language and written skills, oral skills, aptitude kind of stuff. You can also organize some extra lectures. You can also ask your career guidance or placement cell to impart some training on communication skills. All those extracurricular trainings which you are going to give to the students, let's say, that can also be attributed or linked with communication courses. This is possible, right? All that stuff you can do over there. And then it's my again word of advice to all of you that PO6 to PO12, you will find sometimes difficult for formal courses to be associated with these POs. And though it is tedious to keep record of, but my appeal to all the teachers is, if you have a system for keeping records of all the activities, co and extracurricular activities which you conduct on campus, you will find, as per your wisdom, you will find there is always a relation of one of these PO6 to PO12 with any activity you perform on campus. Let's say blood donation camp you conduct on campus, blood donation, and you engage your student. You can reward or award some kind of credit, informal credit to the students who donate the blood. Is it not? That you can certainly do. And if you are successful in doing that, and you can really correlate that to, let's say, engineer and society, more number of students participating in blood donation camp, you can really take the credit for that. Is it not? By attributing that to your engineer and society kind of stuff. Okay. More number of students are going to donate the blood. Okay. Or let's say there is a Ganpati festival in Pune. We have a group, NGO on campus, student NGO on campus, who every year in that Ganpati Visarjan kind of stuff, they contribute a lot. They, for 24-30 hours, all the students are participating to the ham club and everything. Okay, if that is the way you adopt the village under an Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, and you go to the village, you teach the students, underprivileged students, you go to slums for classes, all that can be attributed to all these POs. Believe me. Okay, only thing is that you should have faculty in charge who will lead that initiative and then probably keep the good record of all that stuff and simply justifying it. Simply justifying it. Who does that? That is the only. Who is the torch bearer? Who is the owner of that particular portfolio? That is the only concern. Okay. So teachers are always good owners of any kind of activity. No, we teachers are really sincere entities on campus. Okay. And therefore, you have to see to it that we contribute to the cause on the campus over there. I'm probably coming to an end. They did it for all the years, PO attainment on their own, they did it for all the years. And I think here it is ending. Okay, first year it ends over here. So whenever I have consumed of my own 9:30 to 11, but I'm done with the content. Okay, first year academics is the purview of chairman, and chairman will sit with the principal. First year NBA coordinator, all that COP attainment will scrupulously, he or she will scrupulously go through. And first year SFR, first year qualification, first year cadre ratio is not here important. Cadre ratio, professor, associate professor, assistant professor, that is not important here. Okay, but the qualification, all should be PhD holders, and I should have 1:20 SFR. That is something which is more important quantitatively. Okay, but the CO attainment they have to do on their own. They have to be still sincere. All that they have to prove to the chairman, and chairman sits with the first year MBA coordinator. Believe me, right? And as I was just saying, PO attainment can be delegated, offloaded to program coordinators branch wise, or they can do on their own. That is something that is content of 50 marks only, but it should not be undermined or underrated because only 50 marks are there. So that they should not be 5% mark. They should not be underrated for that purpose. So that is something which is from my end for first year academics. Okay. So if any questions are there, you are free to ask. I'm done from my end. Professor Tripathi, I'm done from my end. And participants can ask questions if they have.
Hello, sir. Can I ask?
Yes, yes.
Sir, can we map PO12 to each of the activities which will be conducted? because it is a lifelong learning. So after conducting any of the activities, student will learn something which will be beneficial for their
Yes.
lifelong.
Yes, yes. Life skills they will learn. Yes. In any kind of social activity, if the student participates, it's a lifelong learning for them. Yes. You can attribute. Thing is
So we
what
can learn.
total NB exercise is quite a record and document centric activities. Okay. It is left to your wisdom that which activity you want to map to PO12, let's say. You can certainly do that. Only you have to prove it documentally. That's the exercise. So you can decide, your program coordinator decide, you can freeze on it, you can minute it that this activity I'm going to attribute to some kind of PO12. You minute it in some of the meetings and you keep record of it. Allowed, no problem.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, you left that story of ethics you are sharing. Can you
Yes,
please
yes.
continue?
It is actually a lecture is getting recorded, but I'll request Professor Tripathi to delete that kind of quote. We have a professional ethics course in the curriculum. In first year, professional ethics is actually a mandated course by AICT, and then we also kept it. We have been in all the revisions of curriculum. There is a course on professional ethics. Okay. Now in 2018 guideline of AICT, there is a course on professional ethics law. They have clubbed it like, okay. And then there was a visiting retired faculty from industry visiting, and he taught that course to all the first year classes. And there was a end-sem or mid-sem examination it was going on, and he was because there are multiple classes in first year, he was in one of the classrooms. He was an invigilator, and in that classroom he found a group of students copying from each other, chatting with each other, exchanging some content on cell phone. And because being an old person, he could catch hold of the student. He brought the students to me because I was dean academics. And then he said, sir, I am disheartened. It is totally my uncomfort to report to you that the course is ethics and students have behaved unethical. It was his pain. He painfully reported unethical. What we did is we failed those students because of his reporting. We failed those students in that semester. We did not pass them. Okay, he graded those students. All were passed because it was a copied kind of, because to his suspicion, he suspected that the group of students have copied it. We failed all those students, even though they have copied it. We give them malpractice kind of a punishment, and the students had to appear for that course in the summer term. That provision we have, a supplementary examination. Okay, we did not debar them because it was suspicion, is it not? There was a doubt also. So we did not completely believe on that professor, but then that professor was quite, it was pain. He was paining, right? It was disheartening kind of incidents for him. Okay, and then thereafter for professional ethics course, after that we learned also, and for every course in COEP the malpractices examination is very meager, 0.1% students generally are found in copying, and the actions are very strict. We debar the students for semester, year, and so on. We ask them to bring the parents. So malpracticing, because students are very bright in COEP, so there is a very rare chance of students copying. Okay, even in the assignment they don't copy much. That's our experience. But there can be sometimes students can be tempted, to copy for such kind of courses where they don't give importance to professional ethics or IPR in environmental sciences, and then kind of such Constitution of India. If there is a question answer question paper, then they are not serious in answering that. That generally happens. That's from my end.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. If there is no question, Professor Tripathi?
Sir, I have one question.
Okay.
The case study you shared, in that this particular college have calculated PO attainment separately for the first year courses.
Yes.
And in the program, they might have considered second year, third year, and final year courses. In our college, what we are doing, we are considering all the 4 years for the PO attainment of one particular batch, let's say 16-20. So we are considering the courses of first year from 16-17, second year 17-18, third year like this. So
allowed.
Okay, so can it be done like this? First year attainment will be calculated for all these courses, And
Yes.
out of that, let's say my department is electronics and telecommunication. So I'll only
Yes.
consider the PO attainment of those two courses like electronics
Yes.
engineer and electrical
Yes.
engineer.
Yes. Very, very logical. No issues. Allowed.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That is what I would like to understand. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Professor Tripathi, if there are no more questions, we'll end the session.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
I have requested one question in the chat box.
Okay, okay. I am not seeing chat box anyway. You can ask it, sir.
I'll just read it out. The wording is a little difficult, mistake. Sir, when FY department where students are admitted branch-wise with respective cutoffs, this department is assessed separately and all core programs are also assessed for remaining years, second, third, fourth year. Plus the fact that first year consists of pure sciences and applied sciences and basics. The view can be taken of collective API instead of branch wise. Will this view be an out of place or it's okay? You have shown in your presentation that that particular institute has branch wise, they have shown PO attainment and API and other things.
Yes.
So, based on
even if you take it collectively, it is okay. That logic is somehow to be announced to the chairman.
Okay.
That you did it like this. It is perfectly okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes, yes, yes. Professor Tripathi?
Sir, I have one question.
Okay, okay. Hirekhand, sir. Yes. Please go ahead.
Sir, because this is related to PO. Was like from PO1 to PO5, means there is a term available like complex engineering problem.
Yes.
So also it is considered that the in blue economy, the first year, second year courses will be only approaching with the lower 4 levels like. And in the lower 4 levels, find that understanding and remembering are there. And when we come to PO script, then in that one we find even the first PO1 and later on in every PO, there is like apply and also complex engineering problem. So there is other somewhat difficulty how to match or how to balance the mapping of the PO or the execution of this particular say delivery of the content and then their assessment further. So can you please guide on this?
Yes, yes, yes. Okay. This is again something to be advised. I can just give my advice because in perception-based exercise in OB, you are also true and I am also true. We are to the best of our expertise and experience. We are true. Both of us are true. There is nothing wrong and right over there. Okay. But I'll just share my advice with you that everything in OB terminology is complex engineering problems. We should ask students to solve complex engineering problems.
Yes, sir.
So they expect that I should have in my examination. Let's say I'm going to find out the Bloom level, let's say assessment. Up to that depth I go. Instead of CO attainment, I also find out the Bloom level attainment. How much my course could contribute to which level of Bloom, and I'm also going in that depth. That how much attainment of Bloom level I'm going to get, let's say. But the expectation is minimum like this. That I have got in my course on signals and systems. I'm from electronics, for giving that example. I teach Fourier transform.
Yes.
Or I teach Laplace transform, let's say. In maths or some electrical network course, I teach Laplace transform. Then I should not ask the student that calculate Laplace transform of a function. Ft is equal to a raised to minus t. I should not ask like that. I should rather say that when I apply this signal to a particular electrical circuit, okay, I apply, groom that question. It should be calculation of Laplace transform, no doubt. But I should see to it that I make the question itself bit complex. Students have to instigate thinking in the student so that it looks like an application question. Don't ask plain questions. That is the expectation from fundamental courses. Your courses themselves are fundamental, right? No? So first, students should understand, they should remember. They should remember the formula of Laplace transform. Okay, they should remember the technique of solving Laplace transform and inversion of Laplace transform. Okay, but they should know, they should immediately jump to the third level. They should know how to apply Laplace or Fourier transform to a small application. There the complexity starts. And how much complexity should be? It should be complex of the level of second year only. Not that they should be doing something system complexity. But a some small tweaking, some small challenge you impose on them. That I do for my course. And also when I train the teachers, I tell the same thing. Don't ask them calculate Fourier transform of this thing. Don't ask them like that. State Thevenin's theorem for that sake. Or simply state Ohm's law. I'll say apply Ohm's law or apply Newton's gravitational law, whatever, to something. Immediately in first year, because students are opted for engineering kind of education, from first year you have to groom them for apply. And for first year, second year course, they should not create, they should not analyze, but they should apply. That application should start from first year, second year. I expect that actually. So question will be as challenging as that.
Okay. Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
I think coordinator Professor Tripathi, are you there?
Yeah, Sutavanu sir,
Yes.
this is Gautam from Mechanical Engineering Department. Sir, actually, due to some network error, he was trying to connect, sir. Just 5 minutes back, he got disconnected.
Okay.
So he was saying that, sir, the next session will be starting by 11:30 again. And he said to thank you very much on his behalf.
Okay. Thank you. Yes. Let me know questions are to send for this examination. No? So you can tell me which kind of questions and otherwise, yes.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Should I leave then meeting?
Yeah, sir.
Okay.
Okay, to the participants, 11:30 will be the next session starting. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Hello.
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 Yes, sir. Yeah.
Hello.
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 Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Now I can hear you.
Okay,
Hello.
sir. There was some problem with connection. We are trying to resolve it. So you can share, sir. We welcome participants also might be hearing me. I hope. So let us welcome Babu sir again. He is busy actually with some activity, but he could spare some time. We are thankful to him. Sir, kindly start your session.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you. Good afternoon and namaskar to all participants. And this is my second session in this webinar. And many of you would have gone through all those OB activities and also various criterions how you follow. And this is going to be a sum up and a crucial thing to understand. I think many of you would be doing it, but there could be some little caution which we need to follow certain procedures over here. So this slide I'll give, and the session is going to be now on continuous improvement. The criteria 7, which is very, very important. It is a culmination of all that so far we have learned and we have exercised. So this one, which this is my education philosophy, which I talked along. I mean, last class. Right now, this is what we see: continuous improvement or kaizen. So it keeps on moving up and up, gradual increment. You can see sometimes it is low, sometimes it is up. On an average trend, how we will move on. A similar figure, if you see, it is a common curve. So how we move on. Then coming on to NBA accreditation criteria, see the criteria number 7 talks about, which has 4 sub-criteria in it, and then there are 8 metrics of it, and in tier 1 category it is about 75 marks. If you get into tier 2, it is 50 marks. So now, having seen that, I would like to say that action taken based on the first 7.1, actions taken based on the results of evaluation of each of these CO, PO, and PSOs. So we have good number of COs arriving out of a program. It is somewhere around 250 to 300 plus. So how many COs you really articulate and write and do that. And then subsequently, we all know that we have to have about 12 POs. NBA has prescribed them. Almost it is a considered frozen kind of thing. And then in order to explicitly showcase your ability and talent of the institution and the teachers or the students, we can also group that specific outcomes, that is program specific outcomes, right? So that NBA specifies that you should really earmark 3 of them. So 3 to 5 PSOs you can also write. So that indicates if in a normal trend, generically if we take 3 PSOs, total POs are 12, right? And PSOs are 3, total 5, 15 POs intact, 12 of them defined, 3 of them very, very autonomous mode. The institution can really do it, even nevertheless to do fine. Now, here, typically, when the POs are being calculated, COPO map you would have seen it, then POs are being mapped and PO attainments would be calculated. So, these 12 POs are very critical to really, in the realm of when we say the learning process, how it has gone, how everyone is really learned, right? What is a learning curve? So the journey of learning will be clearly measurable. That's what we say with the outcome-based education. Now, most of the times when we go for various inspections on learning side from our side, so here the PO and PSOs both are the same as far as I'm concerned, but PSOs are independently institutions. Fine, that's it. So attainment levels and assessment here include curriculum, interventions, pedagogical initiatives, support systems, and all that. Typically, we see how improvement. Now, if you see here the graph which I'm showing here, 1 to 12, 11 POs and 12 also you can add on. So now here, typically all the 3 years assessment years, you stagger at the same point. So most of the institutions show like this, which is wrong, but it should have been in the other format. So if you can see the attainment levels of POs every year by year, academic year, would never stand as it is. There will be either increment or not. So likewise, if I have shown you that. So you can see some of them are going. So as your development, so it is not only a positive trend we show, it can be either way, because the learning of the student is varying based on the type of facility, type of resource, type of faculty which we have, all that. Then the active learning methods also plays very, very important role. That's the reason somebody has to mute, sir. Somebody has to mute. That is the reason where we say typically it has to be not a orchestrated one, it has to be very natural one. You have to show it here, and that way the trend goes somewhere like this. And there is nothing like always improvement, always whatever improvement happens, why it is happening. A critical examination of each PO need to be made, PO attainment. And subsequently, we need to draw our inferences, likewise as shown in the tabular format given below. Here you can see in the PPT, the POs, target level is something which you have attained. So target level you have put 3, you have attained 2. Then what are your observations? Why you could not attain 3? Why it is 2? Then there should be a critical, truthful observation from the course instructor side. Many course instructors will fall right from courses taught by 2, 3 faculty. They have to culminate into one. Course file is one. PO, one attainment for that course is only one, irrespective of 1 teacher teaches or 10 teacher teaches. So that will come in over here, critical observations. And then this is a PO statement. You can give first one, then application of knowledge. And then what happened? Why this kind of attainment is low, attainment is high? Hello? Yeah. Some drops, I'll come. Yeah, no problem. It's fine. It's fine. I have so I'm sorry for that. There is an urgent call I have to pick. So now this is what we will go. Now, whatever. Sir, please mute, sir. Please mute all of you. Please mute.
मैं जब आया तब तुम इधर नहीं थे. ठीक है.
Now, here, this kind of not only PO1 to 12, we have to also similar kind of record you need to make it for PSOs as well. PSO 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, whatever one has made. And coming on to 7.2, the academic audit and actions thereof. Now here, audit is a system, so a periodical internal discussions and thereby auditing the processes. And also you can also have a lot of external deliberations from stakeholders from other side. So in the sense, external faculty or industry personnel or maybe alumni, a lot of discussions can be happening. And an audit, they can also conduct an audit on the existing processes of the various academic processes. And also, we have been bringing a lot of involvement of stakeholders concerned here. So student feedbacks would also prove a vital role for strengthening your academic audit and taking appropriate actions as shown in the recorded table here. So there is always a connect. It is all continuous and continuity is thing which there is no disjoint here. So ultimately you have to bring in the essence how the learning being felt by a student, and you are able to measure what extent student could achieve this learning which has been imbibed in them. That's what we need to show. And audit is a very strong tool where we can always really know the end result of it. Then 7.3 is another criteria which, see, all these learning is proper. There should be tangible outcomes. Outcomes in the sense there should be an improvement in the student career options. There are 3 career options. One is placement, the other one is higher studies, third one is entrepreneurship. So now, year on year, what is happening to your placement? Whether it is going on a rise curve or it is low, falling.
Hello, no audio, sir.
Platforms. So in the sense, whether they are appearing competitive exams or they are getting into higher educational institutions for their higher studies. Higher studies is another metric where we can know year on year the improvement in the students enrolling in the site. And year on year, the number of entrepreneurs are being produced by a given department or from a program is also very, very vital need. This is about 7.3. Coming on to last 7.4, the assessment actually is based on, in terms of, see, quality students do matter. So when the quality students are coming, peer challenges, peer challenge, peer learning actually jacks up, moves up. So that way, it is always important to attract meritorious students to the campus. Meritorious students would come only when an institution is churning out quality educational practices and able to create a academic, say, serene and academic ambience, right, for them. So once the academic achievements passing from the passing out students would always pay a greater attention and role. That's the reason which I would enhance that. So pay a lot of attention here. So such as, so you can see the national level entrance exam, how many students are taking, what is their score, what is the closing score, where our students are performing. In the similar mode, state level institution entrance, and all those things you can also check. And the name of the type of entrance examinations which we are really following. So how they are moving into the campus. The type of lateral entry students quality also do matter. And what is their average score, right? And the ratings in the physics, chemistry, mathematics, you can always list them to really see year on year the improvement of quality is happening or not. So now continuous improvement of quality is a key metric. Now let us see what are the various challenges in gaining engagement in continuous improvement programs. So the overall institution research tells us, so 63.2% of improvement is impacted with lack of clear direction. If you have a clear direction, you would achieve. Similarly, lack of leadership, it impacts about 57% of the institutions. Right? No time, so many other times, so for improvement, we can't say we will be into the mundane day-to-day affairs. So coming on to the, another thing is financial health, which we talked about in the beginning. If for several activities, for R&D activities or student better projects, we will really have lack of budget. Then coming on to the next one is lack of discipline in maintaining improvements already done. So that is a lot of things. Sometimes we have established certain equipment, but we can't maintain this. So working capital or consumables, everything will be going ahead. 28% of the lack of discipline also will impact us. So there is the skilled people, the poor training would also eventually does not give rise to continuous improvement. And this is very, very important. Most of the time, the communication plays a vital role into the continuous improvement programs. And last but not least, strategic deployment of improvement plans and all those strategic intent or vision would also hamper the opportunities of continuous development. So these are the things you can pick what is it happening at your institution and try to really focus on that, build systems in a big way. So that's what about all that continuous improvement. And I would say thank you for all for your patient hearing, and also some technical glitches we can always due to that there is a delay that may be noted and excused. So if there are any questions, I would love to go into some questions.
Hello, sir.
Yes, madam. Yeah.
Sir, the criteria 7 is under the program coordinators, but the last slide which shows that is a budget and all the strategic planning, etc., is at institution level.
Correct.
So how a program coordinator justify for all these?
No. I never meant that. That's the reason where I said if program is unable to achieve this, right? Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Coordinator unable to achieve the desired targets, there could be any one of the reasons which I have cited there, about 9, 10. So you pick one or two and try to strengthen that. The top level management need to understand we are not able to improve. Why? What is the reason? So those reasons they can identify and build a strategic intent so that you can improve on. So there is nothing about program coordinator here. So it is the institutional policy or the department policy or the director's policy, all that it will come in. Is that okay?
Okay, sir. Okay.
Any other question, please?
Hello, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, I would like to ask the question about the target level in 7.1. So how to decide those target levels?
Target levels are institution specific. In the institution also, it is specific to the program. One program to other program, target levels can vary based on your quality intake and learning processes and the resources available, faculty resource. You need to fix a certain target, and year on year you can vary this target. It is not that fixed targets can really help you. You can see progressively about 2 to 3 years and see enhance the target or reduce the target. Target is completely fixed by the program coordinators or the course instructors of that particular course.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Regarding the setting target for CO attainment, there could be two approaches or views. First one is to set a reasonably challenging target to begin with itself and work towards that. There could be a big gap in target and actual attainment, but still accepting that, keep on working year after year to bridge that gap. This is first approach. Second approach is to set relatively lower target, achieve it. It acts as a self booster, and then next year increase the target. Different institutes follow even the different faculties follow different approaches or have different orientations about this. What would be your suggestion from long-term betterment point of view?
No. See, that's what I told you, because it is not somebody suggesting you. It is your own assessment in the program, and the faculty teaching that particular course need to come in together and assess their own strengths in that particular course. Sometimes some mechanical engineering, per se example, if you take that particular mechanical engineering program, that department will have fully manufacturing faculty. That is their core strength. Based on that, their target levels will be going ahead. So in that particular course, where design link is very poor, machine design or something like that, they will have a lower target. So that's what I'm saying is that internal audits, internal deliberations would really help them. Whether you go with a high target and if you fall down, then revise it, that's fine. Or set a low target or incremental mode. Absolutely, there is no standard method here. So, but only thing is, you need to assess the type of students coming into the program. See now, for example, for computer science today, brilliant students are coming in. For other programs, slightly little next level students are coming in. And IIT's top-notch brain will go in there. And other institutions remain people coming in. What type of targets you need to set is that depends on the type of program, type of students are coming in, attracted in, and then you have to develop. There is no add and cost rule, which approach, which method you should approach. You can start to begin with. So you can say 60% of the students will secure 60% of marks, something like that. So this is what one suggestion. Based on that, you can always vary. Or you can say 50% of the class gets 60% of marks. So you can always target that way, and that will be my suggestion. There is no one suggestion which holds good for all the institutions which are being offering education. Is that clear, sir?
Okay, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So if there are more, thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions from participants?
Hello.
Sir. So thank you very much.
Dr. Chigalthankar wants to ask something.
Hello. Yes, sir.
So please go
Hello.
ahead. Your voice is
Yes, sir.
audible.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, yes. Sir, sir has explained very rightly that what happens many times there is a contradiction while setting the target level of that particular POs, particularly at governance stage.
Sir, the question is not clear to me from above.
There is a problem for setting a target level for particularly after PO6. PO6.
Okay, what is that? Tell me, little bit
Uh,
expand.
how one can have a solution? What are the different solutions we can set a target of this type of POs?
Sir, that's what I'm saying. The setting of a target is a trial and error method based on the resources which are that would existing on hand with that particular faculty.
Yes, sir. Hello. Sir, you are not audible, please, sir.
Babu sir, can you hear?
Sir, he is not audible, sir.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Sir, can you hear? Dr. Chigalthankar is not able to hear you. Hello.
Okay, sir, it's all right, no problem. Thank you, sir. Okay. I think his Babu sir's network problem is there.
There may be some network issue, I think.
Yes, sir.
Let me write
Sir,
some
he has
message
again
in
joined, sir.
paper.
He has joined again.
There is some problem with connection, it looks. He's not able to perhaps read the messages also. Not able to hear.
Sir, he is not audible, sir.
His message is that he is not able to hear.
Yeah, sir, he has to reconnect it. Sometimes there is a problem with this network. If he reconnect, then it gets solved.
So shall we tell him to reconnect? Message development. Sir, kindly. हाँ हाँ Babu sir, you are not audible. You can reconnect maybe and try. Feeble voice is writing. Kindly reconnect or check. Check इसको क्या वो speaker connection. Hello sir, they are not able to hear you. Babu sir, hello.
Hello.
Sir, they are not able to hear you. Dr. Chikalthankar is asking a question, but your voice was not audible.
I was not able to get that clearly.
So, are you listening, Dr. Chikalthankar? Are you listening now? Now, sir's voice is audible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He's audible, sir. Now.
Okay. What is the question now? Please tell me.
Sir, there is a general contradiction while attainment level from PO6 onward.
Huh?
From PO6 to onward.
Sir, those things we would have discussed with the PO6 to PO12, which are non-academic or the technical program outcomes, which has to be generated through inflicting of different types of learning methods. So this is not a PO class, no, this is a continuous assessment, right? So those POs need to be critically looked into and built in actually. Then you have to set up a targets. This has to be given to the learning practice need to be given to the class, right? This is the thing.
Yes, sir.
Now coming on to academic audit is nothing but various academic processes you are running, periodically you look into, have a feedback from the stakeholders, right? Audit that process, whether they are able to understand that properly, or the meaning is conveyed, or they will be able to achieve the desired targets or goals, all those things periodically. So certain times what we can say is the assignments which you give, the question paper things which we are, the test question papers, and the reflection, their performance, their achievements, student achievements need to be discussed. And also the type of questions you are asking, those need to be audited. Audited in the sense, the senior faculty, all the faculty sit together whether the right question there or not, all those things need to be done. Audit is whatever process you are implementing, ensuring whether it is working or not. It is really meeting the end goal. When an academic process is happening, the course is being taught, everyone need to assure that the student is learning. So that is the process which you need to assess. So that assess is called, assessment of that is called as audit. It could be through tests, through various mechanisms, or maybe student feedback or stakeholder feedback. All those things are going to help in a big way. That's what the audit processes goes. These are two types. One is internal audit. So the auditing will be done by internal senior faculty members or maybe from other departments as well. External means those people who are coming from outside the institution to your institution and auditing whether this entire thing, learning process is happening. When you are saying that 100% result, whether 100% results, how it has occurred. Did you really probe? That's what once you audit happens, then you will be able to say the PO attainment level achieved properly or not. The lack of attainment reveals what? Full attainment reveals what? You must be able to know that. That's what audit process is all about.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So thank you all for very active participation, but some technical problems, right? Somewhere we'll again meet up.